We're back and we're live.
Yes.
We're live with some AC/DC.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Hashtag not an ad.
That's right. How's everybody doing tonight?
We're big fans of AC/DC here at HONK for some reason.
Thunderstruck.
We love them.
Mm-hmm.
How's everybody doing tonight?
So we got a lot going on right now, guys. We got a lot happening.
Yeah. A lot of travel happening. I know we talked about shows recently. We just got back from Spokane, Washington. Yes.
I forgot where I just got back from. We've been so many places.
Yeah, because where are you right now?
I am in San Juan, Puerto Rico at the moment. Shelly, where are you?
I'm in the amazing mountains of Virginia. The town is Clintwood, Virginia, where I grew up. Am I breaking up at all? Can you guys see me okay?
Not at all. We can see you. We can hear you great.
You know, I didn't know if the bandwidth here was okay.
Yeah.
But we're
home with the folks. I'm sure they missed you.
Yes, Rob Long is in the house.
Hey.
Matt.
Welcome.
Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Diane. Hi, Diane. And so you're in San Juan, Puerto Rico. You are in Virginia. And I, of course, am still in Las Vegas.
Amazing Las Vegas.
We're going to be there very shortly, though.
I said amazing. It is hot. It is hot here. Okay, there's no beach like where Dennis is. There's no nice breeze in the mountains. It's just hot.
We're here.
And I really enjoyed this last weekend in Spokane, Washington, where we went to the Pacific Northwest Tow Fest, which was amazing. I really enjoyed myself there. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later when we bring on our guests, because today's episode is all about tow associations.
Yes. We are excited about the tow associations. I used to think that tow associations put on tow shows and that was all, but that is not the case.
Not the case.
That is not the case at all.
No.
Before we dive in here, too quick, I see Rob mentioned that they're having some inclement weather over there in the Northeast at the moment. But big shout out to everybody who has been in the path of this storm, everybody who's been out there working through this and living through it. You guys rock. You're all rock stars, and we love you for it. And if there's anything we could ever do to help out, reach out. We're here for you. We want to support our industry as much as we possibly can.
Very much so.
Yeah, definitely. You guys stay safe out there. I know you're still, as you're working or not working, we want to, you guys stay safe. Hope your family's safe. Tow Force in the house. Hey, Ron. We got some tow business in the house, tow business podcast in the house. Hey, Jeff.
Thank you for going for ending your trivia night short, possibly, to come on. We appreciate that. We know that you love Wednesday night trivia night. We love you, Jeff Paquette.
Sure. Where is the trivia, and why haven't we gotten an invite yet?
Right? Everything is virtual now.
I know.
Rob Long, just be safe, buddy.
Yes. Rob's never safe, but we love him anyway.
That's the president of your fan club. I'm going to need you to have your back, Rob. Yeah, so we got a great guest lineup for you guys today. Super excited to bring them on. Like I said, today's show is all about tow association. So we have a few different associations represented. Why don't we go ahead and bring them on, and we'll let them introduce themselves. Hello.
Hello there.
Hey,
welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Ron, Shelly, Dennis.
Anthony,
how are you folks?
Hello,
everyone.
Good.
Hey. Yeah, so we've got Emily Wade from Towing and Recovery Association of Washington. Emily, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and you could tell us a little bit how the show went this weekend.
Yes. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. As they mentioned, my name's Emily Wade. I'm the Administrative Director for the Towing and Recovery Association of Washington. We are the longest continually operated towing association in the nation. Originally under the name of the Washington Tow Truck Association, we've been representing our members and all the towers of the state of Washington and our associate partners for many years, uniting them through advocacy, education, legislation,
Wow.
and of course, partnership. I personally have been in the towing industry for about 12 years now. I spent some time on the board for the Towing and Recovery Association before I moved into the position of director in the start of 2020, right before all the exciting things happened to change what all of that had looked like before. So we've been weeding our way through it. But as you mentioned, last week we had our Pacific Northwest Tow Fest. We gave it a new name this year only because we didn't want anyone to expect it to be anything it had been before. As everyone knows, it's really uncertain times right now. And we were just really grateful for everyone turning out, including HONK. It was great to have you guys there. We had a primarily open aired venue, which I think was fantastic. We had a lot of great members turn out, partners turn out, and all in all, it was just a great show and a great weekend. And I think people were ready to come together, not just because we could all use some new straps and skates, but because we were ready to see each other's faces in person and just kind of celebrate the fact that even with some social distancing and the needs to still have some safety restrictions in place, it was time that we remembered the importance of unifying together for what we do. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had a great time. The Northern Quest was an amazing host. It was a great venue. We all had an amazing time. There's some great restaurants. There was some entertainment happening. There was lots of cool stuff happening. And one of the coolest things I think you guys did that I haven't seen in a very long time was the driver competition. That was really cool.
Yeah.
You can actually check out some of those videos on our Instagram page as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's take it on over to a man who doesn't really need any introduction, but we will give him one, Mr. Quinn Pining.
Hi, thank you. Quinn Pining, President of ERSCA, Emergency Road Service Coalition of America.
Thank you for joining us, Quinn Pining.
Well, thank you for having us again.
We're looking forward
Frequent guest and friend of the show.
Yes.
I try.
Yeah.
And I am
Steve, you want to
trying.
hop on the you are trying. Steve, you want to hop on the ERSCA bandwagon and introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. I kind of feel like I've arrived because I made it on the HONK show.
Welcome.
So I've been in the towing and recovery industry for 30 years through a family business. I was one of the original founding board members of ERSCA and still sit on the board for ERSCA.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Ron Myers.
Hello, everyone. I sit on the board of directors with ABTO, one of the founding members of ABTO, Association of Professional Towers of Ohio. And our main focus has been education, training, and actually legislative issues. And it was a group of us that come together, and we've been real happy with how things have went. And it's important that people support associations. Sometimes you don't understand what everyone is doing. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
APTO is the one of the first founding state organizations to join ERSCA. And a great partnership with APTO. So, Ron, thank you.
Oh, no, we're thinking alike. We have a lot of the same agendas, and we see the importance of training and education, trying to improve, mostly our safety on the highway. It's crucial, and it's a joint effort. It's going to take everybody to keep moving forward to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to say hello to a few more guests that's popping in here. Mike Martinez, Arc Roadside. Thanks so much for joining us. We're happy to have you. So we have you all here because we want to talk about associations, why they're so important. And obviously you've covered a little bit of that. So I'll actually ask this question of Ron. What is a tow association? And just what is a tow association for those who don't know?
Well, I can tell you from our board of directors perspective, it's a group of members, owners You can look at it as a cooperative if you would, but our primary objective is to better the industry from the standpoint of uh, protecting our businesses. So if we're proactive in protecting our businesses, it allows us to take care of our employees better. It allows us to have a better workforce. A trained workforce has a higher value than an untrained workforce, and they operate safer. So at some point, as the associations start harmonizing together, in our opinion, there'll be huge opportunities for additional networking, huge opportunity for potential buying power, for potential insurance discounts, and and we really want to increase the value of our business. Is what our board is about, and there's a lot of things that go into that. And currently, things have changed. Most of the tow laws that we've experienced here in Ohio, and we found out a lot of this is around the country. A lot of the legislative and tools that we see and are dealing with was actually created back in the 60s, and they've never been updated. And I think what we're seeing is because of technology and the explosive growth, them laws need to be updated. And when the highway system was built, I'm a big Sharp 2 supporter, which is traffic incident management, federal highways. The highways we have was never intended to handle the car volume that we currently have. And then in addition to that, the towing business initially, from what I've seen, was an afterthought. Once the automobile came about, a lot of towing businesses started as a sideline. It was to feed a repair shop. It was never a standalone. And as the traffic counts have exploded, the cars, and it seems to be part of our culture, there became a need, and it has developed, and we're still having these growing pains, honestly, which I think we're moving through, where there's standalone towing companies that they don't need a repair shop, they don't need a body shop. They can excel at removing and transporting disabled vehicles. I could go on, but I don't want to steal the show. But associations are crucial. I can't, and what's bad is I could have been a naysayer at some point. I've been a member of a state association in Ohio. We're fairly unique of a few others. There's another association in Ohio, the Towing and Recovery Association of Ohio, and they've done a great job. And currently, we're working together with the OTLRC on legislative matters, and that is the key: is for everyone to work together. And the hardest thing about an association, and I'll go this as a little background, and this is why I think we lose participation, or some people don't think about it. But when associations are created, or even as an ongoing association, a lot of the board of directors or members in the associations are actually business owners. Most business owners operate as a kingdom. In other words, the business owner is judge, jury, executioner. He makes the decisions that the business lives or dies on, and he usually doesn't work well with others or takes criticism.
And I agree. And I want to ask, when you have a board of directors of entrepreneurs, how do you get them all to agree?
Well, we talk about this, and I'm speaking specifically for APTO, and I'm seeing it in the OTLRC too. There's 3 board members from that group, 3 from ours. What we've done is we openly talk about this. So my board of directors are all, in my eyes, successful business people. And so we discuss that, and we recognize that. So as we run our business as a kingdom, we realize that the association cannot operate that way. The association has to operate as a democracy, and the majority rules. And you have to become adjusted to, which I've had trouble with it, and I know I have other board members. We've all become great friends. We have to, when we have issues, we discuss them. We have outside parties, our lobbyists, attorneys that give us advice, and we digest it. And as a general rule, we all will almost come to the same conclusion. If we have a board member, and I can't think of the last time, that doesn't agree, when we take the official vote, it's always unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
And we laugh and tell each other that if we're wrong, the one that was opposing or didn't feel the same way, they can always come in and say, I told you so afterwards. But in our situation, we've tried to embrace a little bit of technology, which is exactly what's happening on this call. Is in the old days, everyone had to have a physical meeting. You had to be face to face, and it become difficult. Well, now, and I'm speaking again for APTO and a little bit for the OTLRC, is we embraced conference calls. So we all get on the phone call once a week. And if we have to, an email is sent out and we have an emergency call if there's an issue that comes up that we think needs addressed. And then that way we're all together on the phone talking, and we can work things out. And sometimes, and I've been in a situation where I see something and I hear something, I see it, and I don't even realize or think of a perspective that a fellow board member brings up. And when they bring it up, I'm like, holy cow, how did I overlook that? And then it helps us move forward through the process. So we try to come forward with a unified front because we think that helps. And we believe in educating not only our members, but and we think that's how you get growth. Is we try to educate the industry so we get support from them. We need their support. And some people can't give the time. Support can be done in different ways. If someone doesn't have or doesn't want to put money in, or a lot of money, their time is as valuable, sweat equity is as valuable as money, in our opinion. And then if you can't participate, you don't want to be on the call, then if you know you have good people working for you and working for the industry, you should contribute money so that they have the funding necessary to get things done. And that was a great thing about ERSCA. So when ERSCA, APTO had been trying to create a training program for some time. We had been working with Tommy Anderson out of Texas. We had looked at a bunch of different things. We had talked to, some other trainers, and we wanted to create an Ohio association based training mechanism. And again, part of the reason for this is it's twofold. One of them is to make the industry better, stronger, more professional, raise the bar. And we're also looking for revenue streams outside of member dues. So when we have membership dues, our membership dues as an association, as far as almost every association, the membership dues will not pay our bills. If you're hiring a lobbyist or an attorney, they just simply won't pay the bills. So we're always looking for non-member revenue. Well, one way to do that would be through the education training process. Another way is through shared services, which we're currently working at and have been working at, and we're still trying to find that magic. And some of it is to emulate what other large associations have done. And I'm going to mention OIDA, which is the Owner Operators Independent Drivers Association. They have a huge amount of benefits for their members, and I think it helps drive their membership. And of course, they're making revenue off of some of them benefits. So as we move forward, that's part of what we want to do, and that's why associations are so important, because at some point, I think we'll bring additional benefits to our membership. And one of the biggest questions we've always had from membership is, why should I pay $200? Why should I pay $300? What do I get for that? Mm-hmm. And it's almost where some of our members and not our members, but people within the industry, they get this, what am I going to get for it? If I'm going to pay you $300 to be a member, I want like $300 worth of goods. I want straps. I want gloves. But that's not how they should look at this. Because when that happens, I ask people, I said, well, what do you get when you pay your insurance? And then they look at me. I said, well, a lot of towers are paying tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for insurance. What do you get from that? And they look at me and I said, you get peace of mind. That's why you should be a member of an association. If you're a member of an association, that's active, you're actually getting peace of mind that there's someone looking out for your business.
I agree, and I think that there's power, like you said in the very beginning, Ron. There's powers in numbers. There's something to be said about being in a like-minded community of people working toward the same goal. Absolutely, we agree with you on all these points.
Right. And that's why IRSCA and APTO is a perfect match, because I think they have a lot of the same thoughts. I'm sure they're going to chip in. We decided that they could, we didn't have to create a training program. They have a training program.
Yeah.
And so it's perfect.
It is perfect. I'm going to send this one over to Emily. Emily, who can join associations, and what are the benefits offered to your members specifically? Maybe something different than in your organization.
Yeah, so our association has always been very much about friends of industry as well as towers. So we have multiple different kinds of membership, from registered tow truck operators, which means you have the right to impound and have a tow yard in Washington State, to private towers that are assisting disabled motorists just on the side of the road, and they simply do that and only that without their tow yards. We have associate partner members who are general providers of the things that we would use in the towing industry. And of course, we have members from out of state as well. So we have kind of a vast group that end up coming our direction. And I know, as you've seen at some of our shows in the past, it's a very tight-knit family. It doesn't matter what area of that membership you fall under. And our motto at the Towing and Recovery Association of Washington is the power of a team. And I know it's been touched on, but I truly feel like when you're talking about benefits, I can give you a long list of things you get being a member. But I think the biggest thing that you get is being in an industry where we are 24/7 every single day of the year. It's hard as an owner or even a manager to have the time to go represent that company in the dire need, the last minute 12th hour, when your lobbyists have done all their hard work and your members have reached out to all their lawmakers, and now there's a vote on the floor and you want to rally as many people as you can to be there. We can't all leave our businesses at the same time and make sure we get there. It's just impossible. We still have a lot of ma and pa kind of businesses. And I know that's not just Washington. That's very general to the towing industry in itself. And it's impossible to be able to always be the guy who's out representing yourself. So as you said, that strength in numbers, I think, is a huge benefit that comes of this. We really do believe in the power of a team, and we are stronger together. On top of that, you have benefits from our associate partners. We have a retro program that helps save money on your L&I and tax rates. Often people will see refunds from that if they're companies that have performed well and led with good safety numbers and less incidents. Of course, we have a tire program through Michelin that gives significant discounts, anywhere from 40 to 60% sometimes. We also have an education program. Our members get a reduced cost at that as well. Washington State is a state that requires certification for tow operators every 5 years, which I think is fantastic. It ensures that not only is the cargo that we're transporting safe, but the towers are out there knowing how to perform their job safely, and it's safer for the motoring public. And in an industry where, as we all know, we're 15 times more likely than any other industry to have incidents, that's really, really important. So there's savings across the board in those sorts of ways and those sorts of membership benefits, if you will. But I truly believe the biggest benefit comes out of the strength that you have in uniting together for that common good. And it's not just for our members at that point, right? Because you can be a member of the Towing Association of Washington, but you can also not be a member and reap the benefits that our lobbyists are working so hard for. And when it was touched on earlier that the dues alone don't cover the bills, it's really true. You have a lobbying team. They work year round. You have administrative staff. And of course, it costs to put on even the fundraiser in order to promote your nonprofit to be more profitable. So it's a fine balance there. And we're really reliant on our members and our volunteers And we are definitely an association that's built off of that. And I truly believe that the list of benefits to be a member is certainly long. Those connections that you get, the savings in insurance when you're not just a number to a company, and you can actually call the guy down the road who you met and shook hands with last weekend, or who shows up to every Towing and Recovery Association of Washington event to support us. There's a really special feeling that comes out of knowing that when you can't be there to support yourself, when you can't be there to advocate for yourself, there is a group and a team advocating for you. And so to me, that is the most important benefit that you get out of being part of the association, truly. And you guys have all seen it. And I know it's not just, again, our association. Every single one of us here could say that camaraderie and those partnerships and the way that you set aside your competition when you go to your district meetings and you're side by side with the guy who's 5 miles down the road from you, or who's called out to the same scene on rotation. It's really special to see the way that we unite together for the fallen, for the struggling, and just for the general success and longevity of our industry. And I think that that's something that's really special to the towing industry. I don't know, there's a lot of unions out there, and I think unions can be great, uniting people. But I think that the towing industry is really a special group of people when it comes to that kind of connection and those kind of families that are built out of associations like this. And it just really is an important thing to support and to be a part of. And there is a strength that is built there for not only each and every one of our own businesses, but for every tower in Washington State and beyond, when we're all uniting together to fight for the common causes. And as mentioned, a lot of us are all fighting the same battles. There's multiple states that have lawsuits out there against towers for the same thing that we've been battling in Washington State for 3.5 years now, which is the finding an easy way to ensure that you're not selling a military member's car, and to make sure that, those service members who are giving us their time and our freedom are protected as well, without a tower turning around while doing their job and fulfilling their duty through a police agency or something otherwise, and then ending up in trouble for doing so. So I know it's not just us that's been being fought on a national level. And the fact that, as a group, there can be one voice that can speak for you, and then speak to the next association and unite with their little bit of information, and then talk to TRAA and have them be using your information to compile what's going to Washington, D.C. to fight for every single one of us across the board is huge. And we really advocate on safety and education, and we do everything we can to help make sure our members have all the accessibility to everything that's going to make their job safer and easier.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Emily. You made so many great points there. And I have to say, one of my very first experiences with a tow association was back prior to CTTA and IRSCA coming together. But we went to, Dennis was there with me. We went to the Move Over Day, Slow Down Move Over Day rally out in Los Angeles. It was the Los Angeles chapter. And it was amazing to see so many different companies coming together. Like you said, it's like a family. And we've talked about this so many times, and all of our past episode, at least once it comes up, how like a family the tow industry is. So, so many good points and so many benefits of companies coming together under the umbrella of a tow association to make changes. And, Ron alluded to technology making a huge difference, inside the vehicle, outside the vehicle, inside the tow truck, for tow operators when they're on the road outside of the truck. So there's so many different ways that we can come together to really make changes in this industry. I know recently there's been some changes as far as legislation that's come up, and there's so many organizations that are fighting the same fight. Like you said, they're having the same conversation. So I want to kick this one over to Steve and ask his take on what's currently happening with some current laws out of, and what IRSCA is doing to contribute to that. Oh,
I think we got Steve.
sorry.
Let's try that. We're based in
There we go.
California, and I saw somebody's comment about, asking about the merger. I'll let Quinn touch that. But, what we see happen in California, especially over the last 10 years with IRSCA, and we've been working side by side with CTTA on legislation, we see some of the very similar amendments or bills coming across DC on a federal level. And there's one currently, there was amendment by Van Hollen that would have affected the F4A, which allows states to regulate non-consensual towing. If the F4A goes away, it would allow states and jurisdictions, local cities, to regulate consensual towing. That's a big deal for the towing industry if that happens. We fought it in San Francisco, and they had it in place for a year, several years ago. I know towers up there that when the city of San Francisco legislated those towers, they had to pay $5,000 a truck per year just to drive through the city of San Francisco. And so we used the F4A after a year that it was in place. We used the F4A to get it taken out. This is now looks like it's happening on a federal level, and TRA has done a great job in getting an amendment taken out. But the fight's not over because there's another infrastructure bill coming down towards the end of September. It could get put back in there. And, we have lobby groups that we talk to, and if it doesn't happen at the end of September, it could happen down the road, even a year from now. And it's really scary to think, as a tow owner, what that would cost me and the industry out there to be regulated for consensual towing. So that's currently a fight going on now. And we need to be watchful as industries. We need, it could happen on a state level, it could happen on a federal level, and we have to be watchful for it.
Yeah, none of this is new stuff. These have been battles this industry's been fighting for a very long time. I know a lot of this goes back to, the old AAA versus New York cases way back when in the late 90s, early 2000s, and things like that. And I think it's important that we come together to discuss things like this as an industry and really, make sure that we're all on the same page. And that's why we use our forum here to, give you folks a voice so that you can come on here and talk about what's happening and what we need to do to, support these initiatives and make sure that the industry is really represented at, the state and federal level.
Yeah, and to be clear too, these are things that you can't fight on your own. You can fight and be in the fight for years, but when you band together under one umbrella, you get resources, you get monetary resources, you get bodies in the building to have the conversation. So it's really, really important. That's a really important aspect of the tow association. So we've talked about, who can join and what the associations work on. And typically, I know there's different rules for different states, but what does it take to get someone involved, to get them to the first step of saying, hey, I want to join the fight and be a part of an association? And I'll kick that one over to Quinn.
A catastrophe.
Darn.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about right now a legislative issue that, being very blunt about it, you could pick up the phone and call a tow company down in Alabama and ask them if they know what's going on, and they'll tell you no, because there's not enough information being put out. There's not enough communication being put out. And that's why APTO came to IRSCA and asked IRSCA to get involved. We did a lot of research, and we found out that there isn't any news out there. We're not, we've, and I've talked to Joanne Blyton, I've talked to several other board members on TRA. We've extended the olive branch. We want to work together. We should not be dividing this industry. This industry has enough divides. I will tell you right now, straight out, very truthful, the Van Hollen Amendment was removed from the first phase of the infrastructure before it went to the House. That does not mean that it cannot be put back in. making a statement that 99% sure isn't enough. If there's a 1% chance, we need to spend a lot of money to be in Washington to make sure that doesn't happen. If you can just stop and think for 1 minute about what that kind of regulation, what kind of stiff arm that gives, it would literally probably put HONK out of business because it would
Not just
regulate
us.
your pricing. No, that's true.
Yeah,
It's not just you.
Not just us. How many towers would we end up putting out of business as well? How many private owners, how many small companies, small businesses would end up getting put out of business?
You know, I tell you, and it's funny because when you look at state legislation, and there was a comment in there about an act that took place that CTTA did. You really need to, and that's where the real problem comes in. The towers, through lack of information, don't understand the way the legislation works. Okay? And once a bill is put in, say the Van Hollen Amendment, if it goes all the way through the vote process and nobody objects or nobody goes to the author and tries to get tweaks or changes, that bill stands. So you have to have a lobbyist that can go in and talk to them and point out what's bad about the bill, what this is going to do to industry, what it's going to have effects down the road. Because they don't look at everything in a big picture like we do in a business sense. They're looking at, they're going to regulate the industry.
And I'll also add, Quinn, that with two organizations that work together at the California legislature and the things that we got done, I take that out on a national level. TRA has been working for many, many years on federal legislation. Why wouldn't we want to have two organizations working for the industry? Why wouldn't we want to have 3 or 4? It's more members. It's more money that we can use for lobbyists. I don't think the Van Hollen issue is going away, whether it's at the end of September or in the future.
I tell you right now, it's not going away.
And what we've seen in California on other regulations, I think it's only a matter of time before they get on a federal level. And it's going to put companies out of business.
We're fighting in California a bill right now that is very similar to the Van Hollen Amendment. I can tell you that. So it's not something that ERSCA CTTA is not used to seeing and knowing what to do. The reality of what has transpired this week, ERSCA is in its infancy stages of growth. We need money. And we need to make sure that every tower, whether it's the mom and pop guy down in Alabama or the multi-truck operation over in Florida or the 3-truck guy up in Washington or the 10-truck company down here in California, they all need to be in the know. And what we're asking for, if you want to be knowledgeable of it, help us so we can get the lobbyist in and we can get the information so that we can disseminate it. Not keep it within our board of directors, not keep it within just certain areas and certain people, and not just broadcast it on a website or send out a bulletin to your members. We want to inform the industry, whether you belong or not. But yes, we do need money.
We're doing that today. We're trying to make sure that we're informing the industry. You know what what's out there and what's going on out there, really, because it's even one of the conversations we have internally all the time is how do we get to towers that maybe aren't part of our network? How do we reach out to towers to let them know about things we're doing? And one of the ways we do that is by being involved in associations. And like this event we just went to, Tow Fest up in Spokane this past weekend. We come out to these events because we want to see our towers. We want to see people that we do business with every day, but we also want to reach those who are outside of who we deal with every day. We want to speak to the industry at large, and we want to give them a chance to voice their concerns to us, let us know what issues they're having that maybe we can try and help come up with some solutions for as well.
I made it back. Sorry.
We saw you going in and out there a little bit.
Well, I actually had to get in a truck and drive up on a hill. So
yeah,
it's
we
like,
had a few
are you hanging
comments
out with
rooting
Shelley?
for you, Ron.
that's
Are you hanging out in Shelley's neck of the woods right now?
Ron, I'm the one in the hollers of Virginia right now.
I'm in Appalachia, Ohio, so they literally pump our sunshine in every morning. And if we get more than 2 miles from the interstate, almost all technology breaks down. So that's a challenge we fight. But anyhow, that's it. So I was catching bits and pieces, and it is true. The legislative has become more critical than ever, and I don't even know. We're so far behind the 8 ball as an industry, and I don't even know the true reasons for it. But I do believe that one of the solutions is strong associations and getting the participation from the towers in general, and it'll work. And so back in 2016, there was a Van Hollen amendment, and I personally think that he was trying to do what he was trying to do now. And there was a group from APTO that was actually there. We had left the Baltimore Tow Show, rode the train, experience for me, went into DC, and we kind of chased that bill around, trying to figure out where it was going to land. And at the end of the day, we were unsuccessful. At that particular moment, Joanne Blyton was working with us and trying to tell us where the bill had moved because she did have some connections there. And we simply were too little too late. And that's how the First Amendment got in, where they did a partial deregulation. And basically his amendment is trying to change the language that he got in then. And what everyone needs to know, and I've told other people, and I've been talking to vendors and different things, there's always a reaction that you don't expect. I mean, so when they do something like this, they assume they're doing it because they're looking for a specific outcome. Generally what happens is you end up with a different outcome that you didn't expect, or you end up with collateral damage you didn't expect. So back in the early 2000s, Ohio, and TRAO was heavily involved in that. Bill Ayers, who has since passed, was the president back then. The city of Columbus was requiring licensing to come in their city. And it actually, me being in the tow business, if I had a family member broke down in the city of Columbus, I legally couldn't go in and pick them up. I would have to have a licensed tower, or they were issuing severe tickets. And I'm talking about Columbus specifically because I was a member and remember all this going on. And it went to the Supreme Court, and how they ended up being successful, and we had a partial win. It kicked back to the PUCO. They were supposed to regulate us. We're a home rule state, but there was a lot of money spent in that effort, and without, I believe it's Title 49 or the F4As, however you want to refer to it, we would have been in trouble. There was tow trucks in Columbus that literally had like 10 stickers, and they would be priced anywhere from $15 to $200 a piece on their windshields in order to travel through basically the Columbus metro area, because not only did Columbus require it, in the small burbs like Obetz, Worthington, Canal, Winchester, every little burg that went through there required a permit to drive your truck through, because we didn't have the exemption. So that's what's really difficult about towing, is in times, and we're having this conversation out within our state legislators, we're almost double regulated. They want us to be a motor carrier. We have a DOT number, we have PUCO numbers, so we have to play by all the same rules as the tractor trailer, semis, commercial trucks. But then they want to add another layer of regulations on us because we're towing cars. In reality, all we're doing is transporting weight or a commodity. It just so happens it's cars, and a lot of times we're involved with a consumer, and so therefore it's more sensitive than a guy hauling a load of steel. But I've told people, and I had some conversations with people at OIDA, that look, this if they are successful in deregulating us and saying they can handle all everything about the towing industry, they can do anything they want to us, basically. What's to say that a rogue city council in a city decides that if you're in the transportation business, which we are, and you're delivering food in our city, you have to have a special license on your truck to deliver food? I mean, this is a slippery slope even for them. And so we've been reaching out to them, trucking interests, and saying, look, you need to pay attention to this, because they were solely focused on the fact they perceive as a price gouging problem or predatory towing. That's disguised. They try to make this happen. And N-Coil is behind some of that. And that's why it's important that we develop better relationships with our customers. Primarily now is the trucking industry, and we have to figure out how to jointly solve some of these problems. And I think it can be done, but it can't be done if you're not at the table. As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you end up on the table. So we have to be engaged, and work together in that effort. And then most of it is transparency, because like I said, some of the best ideas that our association has had happen sometimes it comes from a member, or it comes from a board member who just has taken a different view. And then we also have had in our case, we have lobbyists. We hire a firm, and we'll tell them what our issue is and how we think it should be fixed. And they just look at us like we're crazy, and they'll say it's not going to happen. And we have to accept the fact that because they know what they're doing, they're correct. And then they guide us in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's great. I love all that. Emily, did you have a comment?
I did. You know, the predatory towing statement was mentioned, and even before it was said, I was thinking, you know, there's just been this stigma, I think, for a great number of years that have come with the towing industry. And I don't think there's a single one of us here that don't know what I mean when I say that. And I really think in the last couple of decades, and especially in maybe the last decade, we've seen a little bit of that shift, right? We've seen ourselves be represented in a way that I think we have more respect than we used to, greater understanding for what we do, probably a greater appreciation for that. And just recently, probably because of what all these gents are talking about here, there was a news broadcast ran in Washington, D.C. area about predatory towing, and it made it all the way to Washington State. So I'm all the way over on the other side, right? All of a sudden, I'm getting notice from someone who's holding up a cell phone and recording their TV for the 5 p.m. broadcast. And here they are doing this whole repeat of this broadcast from Washington, D.C., discussing predatory towing and ways consumers can protect themselves. The irony in that is that Washington is extremely regulated. And we unfortunately talk about this all the time. I'm not bragging. I'm not giving us a big thumbs up. I'm not. Some of our rules and laws have been on the books since 1940, and some of them are very, very outdated. As said, our roads weren't even created to carry the kind of traffic that they are now. You know, as our roads and general structures have to be brought up to par, and there's more people traveling on the roads, we also need to look at these regulations that were put in place when we were under a whole different set of guidelines. Or I'm sorry, we're still working under the same guidelines when none of the the criteria is the same. And what we've seen recently is this spread of this conversation again about predatory towing. And the irony was that here it is playing in Washington State. And all I wanted was for that local news broadcaster to pop back in at the end, because here's this broadcaster out of Washington, D.C. None of us have seen her. She's not the person that we're watching every day at 5 o'clock. And when it gets brought back to them in live in the studio, at no point do these local broadcasters say, well, thankfully us consumers in Washington State don't need to worry about that because we're regulated, or here's the way that what was just shown didn't apply. And we tried really hard to put out articles and get some momentum to be able to say our side and say, hey, they kind of misrepresented there, because at no point did they say this was a broadcast out of Washington, D.C. This doesn't really pertain to us, but there was airspace to fill. And of course, they're not going to say that. So this was replayed. And all I wanted was, if you're going to play that and you're going to continue to play it, it started to make its way across little news stations across our state. If you're going to play it, at least explain where it fits and where it doesn't. And not one group of broadcasters did that. And what they said when we talked to them was, well, that came out of an affiliate and we're not allowed to alter the story. Then don't play it. If in my state, 0% of what you just said applies, because I'm one of like 12 states that's extremely regulated, and the way just described in regulation, we are one of the ones that would be considered to be double regulated. I'm having a motor carrier inspection annually. I'm paying for all of that. And every year I have Washington State Patrol coming in and inspecting me as well and making sure we're complying there. And we've got a big book that we live off of that's our RCWs that tell you exactly how to run and operate every single day. You live by this book. And we are so stringent on our regulations that I think to some degree, it would be nice to shout from the rooftops, if we had the audience, that we couldn't be the predatory towers, because we would be stopped in seconds. And the truth is, 90% of these guys out here aren't doing any of this for predatory reasons. Very few of us got into towing so that we could go out there and be the bad guy that everyone's screaming at the counter for having their car towed from the pizza place when they never parked and got a pizza. I didn't park your car there. I didn't drive your car while I was drunk. I didn't get your car in the tow yard. We didn't sign up to be the bad guy. Most of us got into the industry because we wanted to lend a hand. And I think over the years, that idea of predatory towing is really taken away from what towers actually do. And I do think that in the last bit of time, we've started to get some momentum back to that. But I think one thing that needs to be pointed out is a lot of the times, these regulations that we're all fighting to alter or amend, or new laws we're working to get on the books, and things that we're working with our lobbying and legislative team to get done, and very close relationships with our lawmakers. We're really lucky that we have a lot of listening ears over the last 5 years that really actually understand what we do and how we're regulated. So you don't have to go in front of the House of Representatives and waste 90 seconds of your 3 minutes of testimony in trying to get them caught up to what we do. They've heard it. They understand it. We can go straight to the issue. And it's making a huge difference for us. But it's taken years to get there. It's taken years to get them to understand that, and understand that we're not always the predator. And most of the time, we're never the predator. And the truth is that in doing that and trying to get away from the predatory towing bit, I would love people to be reminded that a lot of the regulations and the things that all of us on this call are fighting for is the same that anybody would want going to work. We want to make sure our people go home safely at the end of the day. We want to make sure mothers and fathers return to their kids return to the, young kids who are coming up into our industry, make it back to their parents, to their families, to the rest of their lives. There's way too much tragedy in this industry, and that's something that we all know all too well. And a lot of what we fight for isn't just to better our industry, but it's to better the lives of consumers, whether that be in protecting them as much as it's protecting us, safety wise or even in regulations, right down to the fact that, you know, the Towing and Recovery Association of Washington worked really, really hard a while ago to ensure that we got a law on the books that protected people from not returning right back to their vehicles after driving intoxicated, after someone had gone right back out, got to a vehicle and caused extreme damage to a poor young girl on her way to work who was undeserving of that. You know, we worked hard to get that on the books. It got removed in 2020 because they decided it was unconstitutional, and we fought hard to get it back on. It's not all about towers out there when we're trying to change things, making ourselves rich or making the extra buck or only building up the tow industry. It's for the greater good of every person traveling on our roads in a lot of ways. And all of them should want us to be safe, educated, and respected, in the sense that you want to know who's going to be carrying that precious cargo, who's going to be picking up your wife and kids on the side of the road when they have a flat tire on the side of a busy interstate. You know, you want to know that the people you're working with are respectable people. And I am grateful that we're kind of starting to get some of that momentum and that respect back to towers, because that stigma's got to go.
Yes. The passion.
Yeah, we and it goes back to the conversation we just had previously about, you know, having the right forums for news out there too. So we need to be able to tell our side of the story. Unfortunately, we're running a little short on time. We only got a couple minutes left. We're going to run around the room real quick. Emily, how can our guests reach you? How can our Washington towers reach out to you if they need help and want to join your association?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website's the best way. You can contact us through the contact page. All of our information's there. I think even my cell phone's out there. I'm not shy about sharing it. So go to our website, www.towingandrecovery.net, or you can shoot me an email at towingandrecoveryofwa@gmail.com. And thanks for having us.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for putting on a great show last weekend. Quinn, Steve, how can we reach you guys? Even though you're on here all the time, just show up to our live show every week and you can find Quinn.
You would go to ersca.org, ersca.org, and you can sign up as a member. We offer light and heavy duty training, virtual and in person, and of course advocacy on the legislation side.
Thank you, Ron. How can we reach? How can our Ohio friends reach you? Did we lose Ron again?
He's
It's our
unreachable.
website, and it's www. I think I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's
we got you.
aptohio.com.
So aptoohio.com, is that what you said?
So you reach us through our website.
Association of Professional Towers.
It's APT Ohio.
APT Ohio. Okay.
No,
1-0.
right.
1-0.
Association of Professional Towers Ohio. Yeah.
Perfect. And he disappears again.
And just like that, he's out again. we got to get Ron some better Wi-Fi. I feel like we're at a tow show again.
Right. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. All of our guests, you guys are amazing. We really appreciate all the information. I'm sure our audience does as well. You can catch the HONK crew, the HONK Live crew, but also the HONK crew at the next tow show. We will be in Las Vegas, aka here where I am now, for the
Fabulous Las Vegas
Showplace. Right, the fabulous Las Vegas American Showman Tow Place, a show place, September 15th through the 17th. So you can catch us there. I believe you can catch Erska there as well. And think that is all we have for tonight, folks.
One last shout out. I know we missed shouting out a lot of our viewers, but I would absolutely want to shout out the lovely and talented Angela Roper. We got to get you on one of these days as well.
Yes.
For our guests that are here with us right now, we're gonna disconnect, but hang on. We'd love to just say a few words before we break out. So just hang on before we break out here. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Yes, Mike. See you in Vegas. Come see us. And we'll ride out with some Angus. This one's for you, Matt.
There you go. I like it. Perfect.